is Chris Whelton, and I'm the frontman and one of the lead guitarists for the Barstow Prophets.
So tell me a little bit about your story before you met the band, where you grew up and stuff like that.
So, I didn't grow up in California. I grew up in New England, northern New England, so about an hour north of Boston. And it was just farm country. You know, the greatest people in the world, really grew up in a big family, really nice, you know, nice friends, small town America, like Mayberry.
Right.
And it was a great time. You know, I tell people I was 15 in 1975, and that was awesome. And then eventually, you know, I went to school in Colorado, and I had a friend from California, real good guy. And I started coming to California, and eventually I wound up here. So, yeah.
All right. So, who were some of your musical influences when you were growing up?
You know, that's kind of funny. So, in the early 70s, I remember, I think I was like 12 or 13, and I had friends who were really into the Beatles.
Okay.
And I had friends who were really into the Jackson 5. But one day on the radio, I heard this song, and it was Sly and the Family Stone.
Right.
And I was like, that's
right.
That's what I want to play. So, you know, like, while all my friends were like, you know, oh, is it the, you know, Osmonds or is it the Jacksons? I was like, to heck with those guys. You know, Sly was he was laying the shit down. And so, I went on this crazy detour. I had an older sister. She had, you know, her boyfriends would give her or lend her albums. And on Saturday nights, she would go out on dates. And I would go into her room and I would take her albums. And then I'd go back in my bedroom and I would play like music for 3 hours while she was gone. And then I would put her records back so she never knew. Right. So, but, you know, they were giving her albums like Santana, early Santana. And they were giving her, you know, Hillman Fury. And they were giving her Chicago. And they were giving her, you know, these bands. And I was like, man, this stuff is awesome. And then one day I went to the record store at the National Mall. And I bought this album called the Allman Brothers' Beginnings, and just blew my mind. I mean, and then after that, eventually, for me, probably the most important album of all time is the Allman Brothers Live at Fillmore East. Because when I heard that album, I thought, you know, live music is all about like chemistry and passion and emotion and you know, in one instance, I totally rejected pop music, and in another instance, I became a total disciple of, I mean, I can't explain it, like emotional, passional music that just like hits you and knocks you down. And then I went down all those roads. You know, the Allman Brothers led me to. They led me to B.B. King, they led me to Muddy Waters, they led me to Eric Clapton, they led Derek and the Dominoes, they led me to, you know, they led me to all those bands, John, the Butterfield Blues Band, they led me to all those groups, and I was just like, I get it, you know, I totally get it. So, I had the music before I ever picked up the instrument. And then when I picked up the instrument, everything changed.
Everything changed from there. So how long have you been playing music?
So I went to the University of Colorado, and I had this roommate, real nice guy, and he had this acoustic guitar. And I asked him to teach me a few chords, and he did. And as soon as I started playing guitar, I knew that, like,
that was it.
I was hooked. And the thing about playing music to you is that, you know, like I tell people, I've bought and sold all my gear 3 times in my life.
Why would you do that?
You know, you move, you have kids, you have families, you have this, you have time, all those things, but music is one of those things, you don't really choose it, it chooses you. It chooses you, right? And you've seen me on stage, like, you know, there's just something about having a guitar, and I've got some beautiful ones right here next to me. There's something about that electric guitar, when I have it in my hands, I just can't explain how I feel.
It takes over you.
It does. It's kind of like,
part of you.
It's sort of like being a conduit. You know, it's like, I don't know where it comes from, but it goes through me and it comes out the amplifier. You know, now I have a little experience under my belt.
Sometimes it takes us time to find ourselves.
It does.
We
It
grow
does.
into it.
That's called life.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the thing with the Prophets is we have this beautiful balance of older guys who've got some experience under their belts and young guys. Miller, Baccarella, I mean, let's be honest. Miller's got the best voice in the band, and he's the nicest guy in the world.
Right.
Baccarella has, you know, 100 more times talent than I'll ever have in my life. And so when the band gets together, it's just unbelievable.
All right. So tell me a little bit, well, actually, tell me a story about one of the gigs that you guys have had, maybe something that's happened on stage, or a memorable moment.
We've played over 200 gigs in 5 years.
Right.
So, and I've been there for all of them. So I've kind of seen it all. I can remember, so one of the people in the band who I love the most, consider him, you know, I consider kind of all of them my brothers, but this guy especially. So, when the band first started, we were bad. I mean, we were terrible. And Baccarella comes to me and says, look, if things don't change, I'm out. Which I understood.
Right.
So I asked Leonard Wallace to come and play a gig with us at the Shamrock. Okay. Which is a pretty famous bar in the area.
With that place, yeah.
And Lenny said, sure, I'll play. So we played on a Thursday night. So I'm playing guitar, Baccarella's playing bass. Lenny is on congas. It's his first gig with us, and we have a drummer. I can't remember who it was. All of a sudden, I look over, and Baccarella puts down the bass and he picks up his lead guitar, his Telecaster. And Leonard and Mike Baccarella blew the roof off the place.
All right.
And it literally saved the band. And so at the end of the gig, Baccarella says, if Lenny will join the band, I'll stay.
I'm in. Yeah.
And so I went to Leonard and said, you know, well, he's like, absolutely, I'm in.
That's one of my guys too. I like Lenny. I love hearing him play. I love hearing all.
He's a great guy. He's one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. So I remember that night at the Shamrock. That was really important. Miles Denny's first gig with the band. So when we met Miles, I don't think Miles had ever played with a rock band before. Mm-hmm. But Miles is kind of like a musical savant.
He's a genius. Yeah.
He is. You know, you have to step back to understand Miles. And he has great enthusiasm, and he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And so when we met him, he auditioned for the band, and he was terrible. But he showed up the next week, and he practiced for 7 days, and he was better. And then he practiced another week, and he was better. And then he practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, till finally, we played a gig at Bailey's. He got there early, he set up his drums, I could tell he was nervous. And the band just happened to be on that night, and we killed it. We totally killed it.
Rocked it out.
And then I turned to Baccarella and I said, what do you think about the drummer? And he said, he'll do. He's okay. And so that's how Miles got in the band. Miles, you know, gave 120%, and he's just really one of the most faithful people you'll ever meet. So I remember Miles' first gig.